All right, so today we're going to go over a quick topic that has come up fairly frequently since I've been playing, and what it is Ascended gear. So what is Ascended gear? Why is it important? What's kind of the big deal about it? And we're going to go over this pretty quickly, and then I'm going to kind of explain the relation between that and fractals, and why they are, in my opinion, tied, even though they're not necessarily one and the same. So, very first thing, yes, I like spreadsheets. Yes, I made a spreadsheet. So, I pulled a couple things from the wiki, put some stuff together, and this is what we got. So, when it comes to equipment, throughout the game, you're going to get a variety of types. Junk equipment, salvage immediately. Basic equipment, same thing. It's not even worth your time. When you're leveling up, fine, masterwork, rare, those are all good to equip as long as they are relevant to your character level. But as soon as you hit level 80, honestly, you can get exotic gear, even though it might not have the perfect runes and sigils inside, for 10 gold or less, and have everything you need across the board when it comes to armor and weapons. When it comes to trinkets, we'll get into that in a minute. But the reason why that's not that bad of a deal is if you look at the difference between exotics, which like I said is maybe 10 gold to fully equip a character, it's only about 10% difference in the stats between that and Ascended. And Ascended and Legendary are equal in terms of top tier stats. So, you can get by on exotics. I've seen people do raids in full exotic gear. Doesn't even, give them any grief, any issues. So, again, why do we pursue Ascended? Because Ascended is top tier gear. The only difference between that and Legendary is a few different attributes, which I'm kind of covering right here in this particular box. So when it comes to the stats, they are identical. They are the same. Mechanically, they are the same. When it comes to attunement, what do I mean by attunement? Attunement's a D&D term. It has nothing to do with the game. But what I mean is that unlike other gear that can be soul bound, once you use it, it's tied to that character and that character alone. You can't transfer it to another character. You can't do anything with it. It's that one character. Ascended gear is account level, so it's account bound. So if you had a Viper's short bow, you can have it on your ranger, and then you can put it into your bank or into a shared inventory slot, and then move it to your thief. Takes a little bit of jumping around, logging out, logging in. Kind of annoying here and there, but you can still pass it around. Legendary gear, it takes no inventory space. It is account bound, and you can use the same legendary item on multiple builds for the same character, on every single character. It's account wide. As long as that particular class is available to use that item. So what I mean by that is it has to be the correct armor weight level, or it has to be the correct specialization of the class in order to access it. For example, an axe can't be used by Guardian unless you are running Firebrand. But other versions can't use axe at all. So you have to get the class right for the particular item. What's transmogging? It's Guild Wars. Sometimes it's called Fashion Wars. Transmogging with Ascended gear will happen in a variety of different times. You can use transmutation charges, which you'll gradually get on your account as you go through. I also think you can spend gems and get them. Or when you stat swap a Ascended item, it will take the physical attribute of the general item that you're stat swapping it to. So you'll lose the appearance. legendary items, you can transmog for free. Doesn't matter what the stats are. You pick the stats. You can always change the stats. So if you don't like one stat set, do another one. But it's always free to change the appearance and the stats of any legendary item. Obtainment is the issue. Legendary gear is not legendary for any other reason. It's 1,000 plus gold to get, whether that's buying it off the trading post or crafting it through collections or otherwise. There's typically a bunch of precursors where you build one item, salvage it, salvaged components will then go into building the next item and so forth. It takes quite a while to obtain. I would say even if you're focusing solely on it, it would probably take easily a month or more to obtain a legendary item. Ascended gear is far easier, and that's the reason why we're going to focus on it today. One thing I will mention, because I just mentioned it briefly with the transmogging, is stat swapping. Most legendary gears have a precursor, and those precursors are either exotic or ascended. You do not want to stat swap a precursor. It then is no longer a precursor. It will not go and become a legendary item if you stat swap it. So stat swapping, be careful. There's only two types of things that you can stat swap: weapons and armors. Trinkets and back items, you can't. So with weapons and armors, really ectoplasm requirements are 100% the same. The Anthology of Heroes is the same. It costs 10 spirit shards. You need the original item, which you're changing the stats from. That has to be ascended. And with the desired stats, you need to bring into it, if it's a weapon, the orichalcum imbued inscription of the stats you want. If it's armor, it needs to be the master insignia of the stats you want. If you don't know what that is or what it's called, go check on the wiki. That's where a lot of this information is coming from. So, do we really like stat swapping? No, it's kind of a pain in the butt. You get a random drop from some sort of event, you have to stat swap it. Or you hold on to it, it takes inventory space until you're finally able to use it. So, what are we actually looking for? We are looking for selectable equipment, where you can select the stats for that item of that equipment. So, how do you obtain ascended items? Well, it's from endgame content. If we go ahead and look at our list, if it's weapons, you can get it from pretty much anything. Armor, you can get it from anywhere except for EOD. Strikes, End of Dragon strikes. Trinkets, you avoid strikes altogether. You can get them everywhere else. Back items are a little bit different. Back items, you can get them from raids, and then you can get the precursors for some legendaries, both from Fractals, PvP, and World v World. Outside of that, really the best way to get back items is either Living World Season 3 or, like I said, raids. But if we are looking at the trinkets, there's 3 different types of trinkets. You can have 2 rings, an amulet, an accessory. With those, I believe there's actually 2 accessories. But with these items, when it comes to actually knowing where to get them, this chart shows where they are. Pulled that off of the wiki. Really, trinkets are, again, Living World Season 3, quite heavily. Probably the cheapest way to go is Bitter Frost Frontier. It's very easy to get your winter berries and your currencies. Honestly, if I'm already in Fractals, I'll typically get them from Fractals. But to each his own. There's lots of different ways you can get them. So, with all that information, there's quite a bit there. That's how you obtain them. let's actually get into the game, and I will show you what we are talking about. So, currently, I have my character right here, and I'm going to show you where all these things are. So, Icebrood, Saga, there's lots of different spots on the various maps where you can get them, but with strikes, all those, when it comes to Icebrood Saga, will go directly from Eye of the North. Where you actually go is you'll get some items when you're going through IBS, and it'll bring you to the Eye of the North. And when you get there, the strikes are actually done straight here from the Asura Gate. So you'll go to strike missions. Most people will do what's called the Fast Five, which is one of these first five, excuse me. Not many people do Cold War. Some people do. You'll see it in the LFG every once in a while. And there's also, can't remember what the other one I think is called. I think it's like Forging Steel. The Easy 3 is something you'll also see. What that is that is Shiver Peaks Pass, Franier of Jormag, and Voice of the Fallen and Claw of the Fallen. What you'll get as you're going through those is some blue crystals, and those blue prophet shards will be able to go and purchase all these armor sets. Even though these are families of armor sets, what you'll do is when you open it, it'll actually give you the option, like I'll show you right here with Malicious. It'll give you the different weight sizes. I'm running a Thief, so medium is available. I can't do heavy, I can't do light, or at least they're not usable on this character. And then once you pick Malicious, it will then give you the option of choosing out of that the specific ones that are qualified under Malicious. If you need to know what those are, again, wiki it. It'll tell you. Same thing with Assaulters and so forth. The Defenders, Healers, you have those options. And then in here, this goes through your Ascended Weapons. So that kind of gives you the cost both in shards and gold. That is IBS. When it comes to EOD, I'm going to use my Arborstone Portal Scroll, hop over there. Like we saw before, EOD has some stuff. It's not a ton. You still will like to do strikes. Strikes are good end game content. They're pretty easy to get into. It's 10-man content, not 5-man. So you can typically get individuals that are willing to teach you on what you need to do. These ones, you'll sometimes get these Ascended Weapons to drop as rewards for the actual strikes themselves. But really, that's pretty much what you can get outside of doing the Professions Elite Specialization Collection and the Harvest Temple Strike to unlock the ability to do each of these amulets and other trinkets. So since this is a thief, I can do the thief ones, but I can't access the other ones. So again, you can still get what you need, shards and gold, and that gets you, again, trinkets, weapons, but you can't get armor from here. So it's not too bad, it's okay. So that's two different options. One of the other things I'm going to show you is raids, and then we'll end with fractals. But again, the other way that I like getting Ascended Weapons specifically is I like chasing down achievement points. I like collections. I think collections are fun. It also gives you a chance to test out various things as you're chasing these weapon collections. Well, what do I mean by that? I'll pull it up over here. Down under collections, there are specialization collections. So for each specialization, I'll show you some of the ones that I've done. You will get, by starting it, a beginning weapon. When you unlock the specialization, you'll get a basic weapon. By the time the specialization collection is done, you'll get a ascended version of it. Along that same path, you'll typically get accessories, rings, other little trinkets here and there. But overall, there will be a ascended weapon that you can get for each and every specialization throughout the game, whether that's the EOD specializations for your classes, the Path of Fire, or the Heart of Thorns, or even just I think that's pretty much it. I don't think there's ones for the core stuff, but while I have it up, I will check. These ones over here, that's going to be your Path of Fire, is the yellow ones. The green ones are your Heart of Thorns, and these pink ones are going to be your End of Dragons. There's also some specific armor sets that you can get for skins in the specializations that came with the release of the Revenant, which is in Heart of Thorns. These are not ascended, but it is an interesting set of skins. They're just exotic. But it basically makes you look like one of the main characters. I'm not going to spoil who, but obviously if it's a Revenant, you can probably guess. Anyway, this area that I flew to is the raid lobby. In here, you're going to want to talk to this merchant right here. You can also go in and, similar to the IBS stuff, you get some weapons, you get some stat selectable armor, you get a variety of amulets, rings, and other accessories. So you really have the whole shebang in here, but again, it costs currency based off of the particular ring. Another place that you can get it is in the actual raid wings themselves. You'll typically run into a merchant that is normally at the beginning, depending on how far you've gotten to the wing. They're in here as well. Normally you will have to have finished the wing itself in order to access it, but in here you'll have raid specific items. So for example, this is a hammer based off of wing 2. This right here is a focus, again same wing, and you got a ring, and then you got some other things like stabs and so forth, depending on which particular raid boss it's connected to. So if you want to go through and actually preview what these different things are, some of them are actually some of the best looking weapons in the game. I don't know why I picked this particular wing. I actually don't think they look that great, to be honest. Probably should just pop out and show you a different one. But at this point, we are going to instead head over to Fractals. But look for Glenna, look for that merchant. That's where you can get your ascended gear from Wing 2. And sometimes you'll actually get a lot of those weapons as just drops from doing the raid wings. So again, if you can get into raids, normally I would suggest going through a guild to get into training groups or statics. The LFG itself is really more selling raid wings or other things. And yeah, not a huge fan of the LFG, to be honest. Different story for Fractals though. I pretty much do Fractals through the LFG consistently, and I'm going to kind of explain Fractals a little bit more, but I'm going to show you the ascended gear up front. So again, in here the guy you're going to want to go talk to is down here at the bottom, and it's this guy. Bling has all your Ascended Armor pieces, which will cost research pages, which you'll get from your dailies, as well as Fractal Relics, which you'll get from just doing Fractals. You'll also have a variety of weapons, you'll get some recipes, and if you're not looking for armors and weapons, then a lot of your accessories, I'm going to try to remember if it's this guy. It is not. It's this guy. This guy has your rings and your other trinkets. These are actually pretty easy to get. The only thing you need to do is save up your pristine Fractal relics. I don't have any right now. The reason being is I don't necessarily need them. That's legendary, that's legendary, that's legendary, that's legendary, and normally getting a single ring you'll get out of your Fractals. Today I got 3, and I had to salvage them already. So, one of the things I'm going to show you is with Fractals, there's 2 things real quick. How do they work? How do I make money from them? I hear that Fractals are a good way to make money. They are. Every single day, raids, they reset weekly. Fractals, they reset daily. What do you have? You have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. What's the difference? I'm seeing a lot of the names that are the same. Here's Solid Ocean, there's Solid Ocean. Solid Ocean is the name of a fractal wing or a dungeon, whatever you want to call it. Each fractal, I'll probably make videos on these in the future, but each fractal will have what's down here, the name of the fractal, the number of players, which this is 5-man content, not 10-man content, and a suggested agony resistance. What's agony? Latent damage that comes throughout the game. If you get hit harder. How do you avoid it? You avoid it by using what is called Agony Infusions. The number, this ones are +11s, this is a +9, these are +1s, these are also +1s. The number for that plus, when added together, will give you your Agony Resistance total. Normally, if there was other people in my party, their Agony Resistance numbers would be up here in the top left corner next to their name. Normally, out in the open world, that's equal to their mastery level. In Fractals, it's their Agony Resistance. So in here, you can get all the way up to Fractal 19 with no Agony Resistance. At 20, you need 8, and it continues to grow until you get all the way up to the final tier at Agony 150. Well, how much does a character have? Well, with Ascended gear, every armor piece has 1 Agony Infusion slot, or Infusion slot in general, for Ascended. So across the board, I have all of them except for the gauntlets. All have +9s. Weapons, if they're a 2-handed weapon, you get 2 slots. If it's a 1-handed weapon, you get 1 slot, so 2 across both of them. So you're going to have 4 down here, 6 up here, and then the trinkets are where it gets interesting. So amulets, you get nothing. Back piece, you get 2. Each of your accessories, you get 1. So that's a total of 4 across the top. And then the rings, if you've tuned them and they're infused, you get 3. So you get 6 here, 4 here, total of 10, plus 4 here, 6 here, total of 20. So to get to 150, I'm currently missing just 1. And all of my infusions are +9. That got me to 153. So you can do any single fractal if your gear is ascended. How do you get +9s? How do you get +11s? How do you get these other numbers? That was the very first robot I went to, which is this guy. So, actually, I lied. It's this guy. So you can take your +1s right here, which is your upgrades for +1s. You can upgrade your other ones as well. For 4 gold about, and a stack and a little bit more, you can get a +9. So you'll get a fair amount on the daily. And when you're done, this row right here is what I had after salvaging all of the other random gear and items that came from doing fractals. What does that actually look like compared to what I had before during the day? Well, beforehand, I took a photo. I had 66 gold and 86 silver. So we're going to remember that number. When we come back here to the game, I've already made basically 2.5 gold. Now I have, again, these fractal chests and these encryptions. So these are the ones that you get from your daily chests. So if you're going to do tier 4s, you're going to have 4 of these, and then you're going to get one for tier 3, tier 2, and tier 1. If you're going to do tier 3s, you're not going to have these 4s up here, but you're going to get some of these it'll all cascade down, and you'll know which ones you'll be getting from this from the level setting over here, which will kind of break down. I should have done this before. Anything that has a circle next to it is a daily. So if we look at this volcanic tier 4, tier 4s, as you can see up here in the top right corner, have tier 4s. The difference between this volcanic and a tier 1 volcanic is you have these 3 Mistlock instabilities. Tier 4 enemies hit harder due to Agony and because it's tier 4. Plus you'll have these 3 instabilities for tier 4. Tier 3, a little bit easier, but the one here has 2 other random instabilities. When you do volcanic at tier 4, it also counts for tier 3, tier 2, and tier 1. So for me to get all of my chests, my boxes, I will do my 3 tier 4s. I'll do my extra tier 3, my extra tier 1, and so forth, and that's how I get my chests. And again, the tier level -1 is how many instabilities you'll have. So tier 1, no instabilities. So that's the only difference between the different tiers. Dungeon map's the same. Enemy attack patterns, pretty much the same. Once you figure out the first one, you'll figure out the rest. The only difference is if you want to do CMs. CMs are challenge modes. Those you'll get extra loot and it'll be a little bit more difficult. But just basic tier 4s plus daily recs, when I start opening all this stuff up, I'm going to just right click these. Just by doing that, I got 38 fractal encryptions, a bunch of free keys. I got a infused ring, which I will show you how we attune them. Which the way that we do that is you'll come down here, grab an agonized essence, and then I will deal with that attunement in a minute. And I will also salvage it. Do I have any salvaging tools? I do not, so I will need to purchase one. So we will grab one salvaging tool. That's unfortunate. That's a goal. So at this point, this is what we're looking at. You also get some Mistlock potions, which at the end of the day, if you want to use them, you will accumulate them over time. You'll just get a bunch of the heavy ones. If you get any light ones like this one, this is a regular, you can come over here and salvage it and get some fractal relics for it. I'm going to sell my other junk. I'm going to see what... Oh, it's a color I didn't have before. That's good. I'll go ahead and put the rest of the stuff into my bank. I'll sell those. I'll put that into my bank in a minute. So how do you actually make gold? Again, we've only made 2.5 without even doing the encryption keys. Well, these encryption keys, there's a debate about whether or not it makes sense to go with the... No one ever does the integrated fractal matrices. That's just too expensive. Doing fractal relics, they're not bad comparative to stabilizing matrices. You can do stabilizing matrices, but honestly, you'll get the silver and the fractal relics the easiest. When you open these chests, you have the ability to get more keys. So you always want to check those first. But every single day, you get 30 of these daily, these deeply discounted ones. I normally will always get 15. And we're going to start selling some of this stuff back in a minute. So I got 2 more there. And we're going to try to see if we luck out and get one. We did not. We got an extra one. So I'll go buy a fractal encryption just so you can see roughly the cost of what they are off the trading post. I think I recently bought one of these actually. It's not there in the recent ones. So it looks like they're going for about 23.5 silver. I could hold on to the key for tomorrow, but I like my inventory space. Clearly I'm a little short on it. So again, we started off at roughly 66 gold and some change, and when I sell all that, we're now at 81.37. So we made roughly 14.5 gold today. That doesn't include the stuff that we had to purchase to salvage a ring. That doesn't include the other encryption that we had to do. So we spent some gold to make some gold, but 14.5 gold when today it took me maybe an hour and 15 minutes, maybe an hour and 20 to get it all done. Comparative to everything else, that's actually pretty quick. And normally you'll get quite a few of these +1 Agony Infusions. I have so many that pretty much on the daily, I will go ahead and sell a full stack just to make room and to get just that little bit more silver into my pocket. So overall, you need ascended gear to do tier 4 fractals in order to slot in your infusions. Ascended gear you can get from pretty much any part of the game. Living World Season 3, Living World Season 4, raids, PvP, World v World, fractals themselves, strikes, the specialization collections to get other weapons. It's the top tier gear. It's not that hard to get. The problem is there's not many guides like this out there which will tell you where to look. So at the end of the day, fractals, 14 gold a day, 5-7 days a week, depending on how many you're doing. That right there is 70 gold a week just by doing something that I actually enjoy and love. So it's not bad. How do you infuse your rings? You take a +1 infusion, Philosopher Stones, which you purchase from this vendor right here, Melania, or Miani, or whatever you pronounce her name. The Agonized Essence, which I showed you where that vendor was in the Fractal area, the Fractal lobby. And that's how you go from a 2-slot to a 3-slot ring. After that, if you want to salvage it, there's a variety of different numbers that you can get. 14 is pretty good. You can get 4, you can get 5, you can get 8, you can get a variety of numbers. But again, these stabilizing matrices were one of the ways that you could actually get those other things that we were looking at. Salvaging kits. Your ascending salvaging tools. So overall, that's a quick overview of fractals. I'll actually show each of the fractals later on in different videos when I have more time. But again, I keep getting that question a lot. How do I get ascended gear? It's by playing the game. Strikes, World v World vendors, PvP vendors, raid vendors, fractal vendors. It's top tier gear. You get selectable stats. When you get that full top tier gear, you can do top tier fractals. You're making 14, 15 gold a day. It's an easy way to play the game. So, in any case, hopefully I'll see you